Good morning, friends, and happy Sunday. Just getting the day started. I made a very high protein breakfast this morning. Eggs and sausage with peppers. I have been feeling so much healthier since I started incorporating more protein into my diet. The last video I talked about hair, and something that I didn't mention was not that long ago, I was really significantly losing my hair. I have PCOS, anemia, and hypothyroidism, which are all conditions that can cause you to lose your hair. Since I've improved my diet, my hair has grown back a lot. So when I was talking about long hair, another reason that I didn't mention was just that I feel like for myself, having long hair is a sign of health, and it makes me feel healthy, I guess. I don't know. All right, so we're all fueled up and we are going on a nature walk. Nice, healthy way to spend our Sunday. All right, I made a couple of salads for lunch for me and my brother. They look pretty good, don't they? Another healthy day, don't you just love it? Well, I have got a doozy of a topic for today, and that is the topic of male allyship in feminism. Specifically, I came across this article this morning, actually at 2:30 in the morning when I was awake with insomnia. The article was called "How Cuomo Took Advantage of #MeToo. When a movement swept the world, the New York governor cast himself as its champion, but even as he signed protections and surrounded himself with feminists, he was committing fresh offenses." This article was published yesterday in the New York Times by Jodi Kantor and Arya Sundaram. Let's talk about Andrew Cuomo. Let's talk about male feminists. Let's talk about wolves in sheep's clothing, because wolves in sheep's clothing are much more common than legitimate, real male feminist allies. Maybe unicorns are a little bit more common too. So if you aren't familiar with the situation, Andrew Cuomo is governor of the state of New York. He has been for a while, and he has styled himself as a real champion of women's rights, of laws that have protected women's ability to report sexual harassment. He championed a law that lengthened the statute of limitations for rape. He was an ally of the Time's Up organization. And in the Me Too era, he has done a lot of calling out of other men and saying that no man is above the law. Well, I think he needs to look in a mirror when he says that, because what has happened is that 11 women have come forward with allegations of harassment and abuse and assault by Andrew Cuomo. So those are just allegations. Nothing's been proven, but there has been a very extensive report published by the New York Attorney General's office outlining all of these allegations. They were things like groping, physically touching his subordinate female workers in inappropriate ways. Can you imagine? Maybe a lot of you don't have to imagine. I don't have to imagine being creepily touched by your superior at work. It's happened to way too many of us. That's what the whole Me Too movement was about, right? Was finding out that so many of us have dealt with this stuff. Either you can imagine or you know firsthand just how horrifying that is. Some of the women that worked for him ended up resigning because they were so distraught, ashamed, humiliated, or whatever, uncomfortable with the situation, right? He suggested to a female police officer that worked in his office that she should wear a dress, as if that makes any sense for a female police officer to wear a dress. He suggested to another woman that they should play strip poker together. Really, really horrifying stuff. And what's so crazy about this is 8 of the 11 allegations involved things that happened after October 2017, which is when the Me Too movement really started to get rolling, and when Cuomo himself started to comment on Me Too to say, look at these men are such scum. Meanwhile, he's actively at the time doing it himself. So he's Jekyll and Hyde, showing one face to the public, of I'm this champion ally of women, and in his office with the doors closed, he is making advances on women that are beyond inappropriate. Now, of course, he says he didn't do any of that, that this is all lies, that it's a coordinated political hit job on him meant to get him out of office. And so he's not resigning. What would it take for his side to be true, that this is 11 women all coming forward and lying, versus their side to be true? You're really telling me that I should believe that 11 women decided to upend their lives and come forward with this stuff. It's not always safe for women to do that for a lot of different reasons. But we're supposed to believe that they're all lying and he's telling the truth. I feel like we've heard that before. Something that stood out to me was that when Andrew Cuomo was calling out men in the Me Too era, one person he specifically called out was Eric Schneiderman. And that is a story that I remember well because that story hit close to home for me. So Schneiderman was the Attorney General in New York State. And in 2017, Ronan Farrow and his co-author Jane Mayer wrote an article in the New Yorker all about the horrible things Eric Schneiderman had done. Now, as Attorney General of New York State, Schneiderman had, like Cuomo, been a champion of women. He was lauded by all of these feminist groups and women's rights groups for being a champion of women's reproductive rights. And he was really seen as like the ultimate male feminist, right? But at the same time that he was this champion, ally, oh my gosh, this guy's so great, he was beating the life out of his girlfriend. He hit her so hard on the ear that she went partially deaf. He would choke her, say all kinds of demeaning things to her, degrade her, like literally the worst. And this is a guy who is standing up for women. This is a Jekyll and Hyde situation. One face to the public, one face in the bedroom, and it's ugly. So Schneiderman was one of the people that Cuomo called out. But the difference between Schneiderman and Cuomo is that as soon as the allegations against Schneiderman came to light, he resigned immediately and he was disgraced and he was actually disbarred a little bit later. He had his life ruined over this, as he should have. But Cuomo so far is just going on as if nothing's happening. I feel like we've actually gone backwards since that initial Me Too moment. And we have gone backwards. The fact that Cuomo didn't resign immediately just shows how little women seem to matter in our society. And we see it everywhere that women don't matter. Me Too was like this incredible moment where women were just sort of rising up, and I feel like there was a collective like consciousness raising among women. I know that I personally had so many experiences throughout my life, sexual assault, sexual harassment, and I really felt so much shame, and I felt that I was the only person who had gone through this stuff, and it's so rare, and it's just me, and I brought it on myself or whatever, those thoughts that are so common. And in that moment of Me Too, I realized that I was not alone. And it felt like this powerful moment of awareness that this is hashtag yes all women and hashtag yes all men. Not popular to say that, but there you go. Every time something like this comes up, the Schneiderman case, this Cuomo case, I'm reminded personally of an experience I had in my own life with a former friend / acquaintance, a guy that I went to college with, and he ended up being very, very successful as an attorney in the military. And his job specifically was to prosecute cases of domestic violence, rape, sexual assaults, the special victims kind of cases. And he was like a hawk going after these men who were victimizing women. And he really saw himself as a feminist. He would have called himself a feminist. And I thought that that was great. But then in our friendship / relationship, this guy progressively more and more started to be harassing of me, and he ended up harassing me pretty much as bad as anyone has in my life, and objectifying me and just being really vile and nasty. I don't need to go into too many details, but I can see that this does happen. This is not an impossible thing. I have experienced it literally firsthand. Someone who is publicly in a high, powerful, respected position, being a champion of women, and then behind closed doors acting 100% different and not feeling any sense of conflict about that. Like feeling comfortable with themselves. I do believe that many men, most men, all men, feel that they can get away with whatever they want because society tells them over and over and over and over again that they can. Can men be feminist allies? Can men really be feminist allies? Well, I would tell you what, I've only gotten into real feminism. I read a comment that we should just refer to it as feminism rather than radical feminism. But I've only been into feminism for a few years, and I would say my opinion on whether men can be feminist allies has definitely evolved and changed over that time. When I first got into feminism, and I would have said definitely men can be allies for sure. But over and over and over again, I've been disappointed. I've seen the reality of it is that even men who agree with feminists and don't do any of this stuff in their personal life, they're so unwilling generally to speak up on behalf of women. And it's so often the men who are willing to speak up on behalf of women are nightmares in their private life. So can men be feminist allies? Theoretically, I guess, but in practice, it just doesn't really usually work out that way. I think if a man really wanted to be a feminist ally, they should be quiet and platform women as much as they can, listen to women as much as they can, and amplify women's voices. That's it. Men don't really need to have an opinion on feminism. It's not their place to do that. Perhaps in private, have the discussions, but there is no man who should be speaking up publicly on what feminism is, or, God forbid, mansplaining feminism to anyone. So, yeah, those are just some of my feelings. If you guys have followed the story about Andrew Cuomo, or you have any thoughts or feelings on it, or if you have any thoughts or feelings of whether all men are like that, or whether men can be feminist allies, or whatever, would love to hear from you. Some of you, I already know what you're gonna say, but yeah, obviously it's so disappointing when something like this happens, but was it unpredictable? I would say no. So yeah, I think that concludes the vlog. Can't wait to talk to you in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.